and welcome back to the ZT podcast, the acclaimed show where we ramble on for way too long. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not to you, I'm talking to... Yeah, no, I'm joking. Welcome. We're talking about how we got into film. Filmmaking, film acting, just
camera.
Film in general. Just talk about where we started in that realm. First of all, what's the thing for you in acting? I'm really curious. What made you gravitate towards wanting to do acting or drama?
Well, once I started getting into the performing and larkabout stuff, it was ultimately a form of expression. I fall into that kind of line of sight where it's not so much about the applause at the end, it's not so much about, taking centre stage and main character and all that nonsense.
Right.
It's just a fun thing, it's a fun experience, you're surrounded by loads of different people, they're all wacky, they're all got their own experiences, they have their own views, and it's an immersive environment. It's not just stiffly one person, one agenda, one argument, one right opinion. It's everyone bringing what they've seen, what they've learned, and pushing that all together into the show that we all have. The show that we all have to put on.
Yeah.
And what I marvel at is that you can do the same play 10 times in a row. If you have different people doing even one role changed, it changes the entire production. There will be no two shows that will ever be the same. And that is something I love about acting. It's something I love about having a new cast, a new production, new show, new stage, everything. It's just, it's never a dull moment.
No, it is down to the interpretation of the actor, isn't it, with the role? It's less about how someone writes it. I mean, that does influence a lot, but when it comes down to it, the person who actually wants to put that role to life, it's their job to do so.
Yeah,
and it's different every time, like you say. It's different every time. That's very true. When I was really young, I wanted to do acting. I kinda did. I kinda just liked the idea of being involved in like the filmmaking process in general, and I was like, oh, I wanna act as the Doctor when I'm older, or something. And that's the sort of thing that was like striving me to like pursue like film in all aspects when I was younger, and I even took drama GCSE for the briefest time. But I realised I wasn't very good, and stage fright is a thing, so I kind of dropped that. And I thought I'm much better suited behind the camera. But what actually started that, of all things, was watching Doctor Who Confidential and seeing the behind the scenes of all those Doctor Who episodes from RTD's era. Yeah. From like David Tennant and Eccleston, a bit of Matt Smith as well. And watching those from a young age and being like, oh, you can actually make a living from making like these things that you watch all the time. You can make those and earn a living from that. That blew my mind when I was really young, and so I kind of pursued that really. But how about you? What kind of, when you were young, what kind of started?
Well, when I was really young, I didn't want to be an actor right from the start. No. My earliest kind of pursue career kind of moment, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Really?
I had two obsessions when I was younger. I had Doctor Who, but I had dinosaurs, and dinosaurs was the first love for me. I would know the names of all the different dinosaurs. As well. I had books on all the different kind of herbivores, carnivores, sauropods, theropods. I was obsessed. I even had a raptor toy that would go with me everywhere. That was my staple thing. Well.
That's really cool. That's one of the reasons why I got into like Primeval at a young age.
Oh, Primeval.
Well, it was that also, like I was obsessed with like the Walking with Dinosaurs live performance thing.
Yeah.
The animatronics.
Yeah, we saw that for my brother's birthday actually. That was it's brilliant.
That's really cool. I fucking love dinosaurs.
Doctor Who for me, it was kind of like when you were on the playground in primary school and you want to pretend you want to be a certain person. For me, I always was the Doctor. I had the Sonic toy. I used to have this purple jacket that I'd zip up and I'd pretend it was the blue suit. So I'd go around just pretending I'd be the Doctor. So that was kind of my initial love for acting, but it was just play for me at the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to slip into that role because that's like your childhood hero. And,
it wasn't until I started secondary school when I realised paleontology isn't just you go and find a fossil. You have to know biology, you have to know what kind of species you just discovered. You need to have a good sense of geography to know what kind of landscapes are good and what things you can excavate and all that kind of nonsense. And I slowly realised, this ain't for me. I ain't got the brains for science, ain't got the patience for geography, scrap that. So then I actually then started pursuing graphics because I like to draw.
Yeah.
And my dad, he works in that kind of industry as well, and I thought, you know what, I'll get into this. I'll do a bit of drawing, planning, house design, architecture, all that kind of stuff. So that was where I was initially headed. And it was also in secondary school where drama was introduced. I didn't do it in primary school. I don't think anybody does drama in primary school.
Well, like you said, unless you count the playground shit.
Yeah. Or the end of year plays they used to do, and I found those fun.
Those.
I actually, side rant, year 6 for our leavers assembly.
Yeah.
I got to play the Doctor.
Yeah.
I got to be my own Doctor because rather than it being a standard play. We had the summer production, but then our leavers assembly was basically something where the whole year group could pick what we would do. And somebody came up with the idea of, 10 years in the future, what are we up to? And I brought up the notion of, maybe you could have the Doctor in there. And then instantly they said, well, why don't you be the Doctor?
No.
Yes, please. And I was
took you long enough to ask.
Yeah. So that was my first ever time being the Doctor, and I was so happy for that.
Yeah.
I was stand by 2 boxes.
Assembly plays as well when I was really young. Yeah, I never played the Doctor, but like the acting side of it, it was fun to act out different people. But like I said, quickly realised it wasn't for me really. Like being in front of the camera. I mean, I don't mind it, especially nowadays. I've learned what improv, timing, and comedy is.
Yeah.
But like it's. Some people like pick it up better than others at a younger age. So
yeah.
And I mean, I enjoy acting in front of the camera, but like I don't know if that's something I'd ever pursue as like a career. Whereas behind the camera, I feel like I just know a lot more about.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that fascinated me a lot when I was younger, because I was like, oh, this cool gadget thing that like can capture what you're looking at and then put it on a screen for you to watch back in. Like as a little child with a pudding brain, I was like, how does this thing work? I want to study it, and that's kind of what I did.
Yeah.
Pretty much with my parents' old HI8s, like Handycam, like recording tapes of all things, analog tapes. I would literally record my own mini films, like just whether it be like stop motion animation of like Lego minifigs or like Doctor Who action figures, or live action acting out my own Doctor Who episodes, or just other like crappy little short films. Some that have somehow resurfaced on the ZT channel, some haven't. But all in all, it was all part of the learning experience for me. I was just like I say, studying this device that I didn't understand, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I finally got a Handycam that did digital, that became a lot easier to understand, because analog is like you record it onto a physical tape. How does this work? Whereas digital, it's just, SD card, bloom, into computer. I edit video now. Whereas editing video on analog, that's difficult, man. That's fucking difficult. But yeah, it was all a learning experience. It was all a learning experience. But it all started just watching Doctor Who Confidential and being like, how do I make those? You can earn money from making those. I want to know how. It was kind of that side of it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Around the start of year 7, that was when drama classes became a thing. But then I also took part in the drama club, which would run every Monday after school. But you'd only be able to do drama club in Key Stage 3 from year 7 to 9. And around the end of year 9, I realised I still wanted to have a club in my life. And so I've got a twin. He and I both decided to go join Playbox in year 9.
Oh, okay.
And that would be a reoccurring thing every Thursday evening.
Right.
And so at the same time as me wanting to practice my drawing and graphics, there was also that rising passion in drama. And on one hand, Playbox and the drama clubs were really fun because it gave me a chance to be more expressive. It was a time where, because in school I used to be very much, a people pleaser and sorting them out. So drama for me was a lovely time where it's my expression, it's my feelings, it's my ideas. And of course, when you're in a group, it's not always going to be your idea chosen, but it's a good feeling to let yourself have that expression, to know that at least, even if it's not being used, it's being heard, rather than just thinking, right, it's not about me, it's about you. So drama for me, it was a lovely open door where I didn't feel like I had to shut things away for once.
Yeah, you can actually you don't feel like the sort of like nagging feeling where it's like, oh, do people actually care about what I'm thinking, whether it be like a story idea that you want to you want to tell someone about. Like, you're at that place to share ideas.
Yeah.
So if people aren't contributing, they're the ones that are going to get like spotted and get like the nose wrinkle. Whereas like people who actually do have ideas will be the ones like, good idea. May not pick it today, but good idea. You're acknowledged for your creativity and your ambition, really.
Yeah. And by the time I was doing Playbox and then we moved into GCSEs, I was doing really well in my graphics classes because it's drawing, it's your individual work that's kind of put you through. But then GCSE drama, you of course rely on your class, on your team.
Right, yeah.
And I was tragically put in a class where I felt like, I mean...
You were the only one that tried?
Yeah, I was really the only one that put in the effort. I was the only one that was getting on with my teacher because the rest of the class were just bad talk about her behind her back, and it brought me down a little as well, because since I was really trying with my classes, they all kind of had this idea that, oh well, it doesn't matter who's going to get the best mark because we all know Adam's going to go and get it. And it's not like anybody told me to not act, but I felt out of place and I felt embarrassed to try my hardest in a room where no one else really felt happy to see me do that.
Yeah, that's how GCSE drama felt for me, because it's like... Because the thing is as well, is that when it comes to like any sort of like class, when it comes to like film, whether it be acting or learning film or practicing film, there are always going to be at least 20 to 30% of the class, maybe more, people that just picked it because they thought it would be fucking easy.
Yeah.
Whether it be drama, because I know that you feel the same with that, with film practice and film theory, people just join those classes because they think, oh, we're just gonna watch films all day, or oh, we're just gonna stand around and read scripts all day. And it's not like that. No. It never has been. And you see those people drop out slowly but surely, and those people are the ones that waste the teacher's time, waste your time, and also kind of bring down the mood of the entire class, because they're the ones that sit at the back twiddling their pencil for an hour, and then they're off for recess. And that's it. And that pisses me off. Yeah. It still does to this day, because even at university you get people like that. I'm not sure in drama, but you definitely do in film.
And one of the harder things about subjects in the arts is that it's not like science and maths where you have to follow a certain curriculum. There's only one right answer, there's only one thing you have to do.
No, that's true.
In these kind of performing subjects, even in filming, I'm going to imagine, it's a very emotionally expressive environment. You're very intimate with how you feel and how you want to showcase everything. And with that, the teachers and the students have this sort of dynamic where you understand, you get on better with certain people more in these classes than perhaps a teacher or student would in maths classes.
Right.
And that makes it easier for teachers to have their favourites, for people to think, oh, it's okay, I don't have to try too hard because the teacher gets on with me really well. And I had a problem there as well during the end of my GCSEs, where, because my older brother, I've got a twin and an older brother, he was definitely the one where my drama teachers, he wasn't a bad student by any means, but he knew when he could be cheeky. He was charismatic, he was a bit of a player in that kind of sense, and he was charming, and he picked his moments. He wasn't intentionally rude, but if he saw a chance to make a joke, he would take it. And that in drama it's a good quality to have in one area, because it shows that you're not necessarily going to be carried by the rest of the room. You make your own way, and that's something that the teachers will look at. So then when I was carrying on as far as he did, you couldn't help but feel like they were comparing you to that standard. And whilst my teacher, Miss Ferguson, she is probably one of my best inspirations. If I ever had to look back and think where it started off, I would thank her every day, because if it wasn't for her, I'd never have been this far. But the other teacher I had, she was definitely on the side where, if I'm not my brother, don't talk to me. And I actually caught her talking about me behind my back.
Really?
Yep. They were having a laugh in the class.
Was this in school?
Yeah, this was in school. This was just during a lesson. I was a bit late because I had a driving lesson. And she was talking to the rest of the class. And I don't know if the full conversation was about me, but literally as I'm putting my stuff away, the door was open. Nobody noticed me coming in. But the teacher then made a comment about me being a bit of a stickler for the rules, and oh, well, I mean, we don't have to try too hard because Adam's going to carry everything. And it's like, I heard that.
The fuck is the problem with that? Like, what?
And so I decided to let them know that I was here. I just walked in. Yep, thanks guys. So, what are we doing? That was my attitude, and you could feel the awkwardness, but I wasn't going to let that get to me at that point. I decided to go.
It's them that should have been like feeling awkward about it, because they're the ones that
So then, by the end of my GCSEs, I didn't feel like I wanted to carry on with drama.
No, I don't blame you.
So then, over the summer, there were 3 major things that happened that completely switched things around. Firstly, I didn't do too well in my graphics GCSEs, despite everything. I only just managed to scrape a C, and in A levels you need to have a B or above to take it on at that point. Because of all the revision I was doing in my drama stuff, thanks to Miss Ferguson, I managed to pass easily.
Okay.
Well, I say easily, it was a steady B, but it was thanks to her that I got that. So I decided to take drama into A levels.
Okay.
And the next thing that happened was that during my time over the summer at Playbox, because Playbox was going brilliantly, it also introduced me to the Shakespeare Young Company. And that is where my love for Shakespeare actually started. I was already introduced to classical and contemporary monologues in class at school, but with a more focused look on everything that you're doing in the Shakespeare group, it opened my eyes to what a real passion for the subject looked like.
Right.
Because Playbox was tongue-in-cheek, it's playing a couple games, you do a bit of stage combat, you do a bit of improv, musical, theatre, stimulus-based, all that kind of stuff. But the Shakespeare Young Company was full of people who had a serious passion for Shakespeare's work, hence the group. And you actually had to do a proper audition to get into that. It felt serious, it felt committed, it felt like the
felt like you deserved to be there.
Yeah, it gave you that real honour to feel like, wow, I'm in this group. And I carried on with that for my 2 years at during sixth form. And as well as me opening my door more to drama because I didn't have graphics on my mind, if it wasn't for Shakespeare, if it wasn't for Playbox, and if it wasn't for that, my passion for the subject would have died down.
I bet, honestly.
And it was around that point where wanting to be an actor started for me. So it took me a while. It took me a while to get to this point.
Well, I mean, worth it though. It paid
Definitely.
off. For me it was like, so I took film studies in GCSE level, and I didn't continue at A level. I didn't do A levels, but that's because like I'm artsy fartsy. A levels isn't really for everyone in that sort of demographic. But I took film studies GCSE. The teachers, Miss Moody, she was really helpful and sort of like trying to like push me to kind of like, go on, just don't care what everyone else thinks, just fucking. She didn't swear.
Yeah.
She would push me to actually just go on, just do it. Who cares what other people think? If it's crap, at least you know how to make it less crap next time. It was that sort of mentality, and yeah, she was like the first tutor to do that for me. And then she left after year 10 GCSE. So year 11 I had a different teacher who was less good. But I finished GCSEs, I passed it, which is what was important. After that I went to college and I did a 3-year BTEC on media and film production, which helped in the understanding of just like the more professional process of it really, and kind of also tried to further build my passion of the entire thing as well, of just the entire filmmaking process. I've lost my train of thought now. The door keeps opening and shutting over there. But the bottom line is it takes a lot of time to kind of like home in like where you want to be in the industry if it's like behind the camera, because for the longest time I wanted to be the director. Nowadays, not really. Partially because people will go, why not? You're so good at directing. I don't like me as a director. I feel like I'm being too mean as a director sometimes on a big set, because I get bossy, and then if I don't do it because I'm a perfectionist at the end of the day, and even like doing a stupid little skit, like we filmed some skits today, you can attest to this, the amount of times that I want you to do like another take of something. Well, it's rare that we do like a one take wonder, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know, when you say that you're a mean director, you never shout at me if I've done something
I know,
wrong.
but that's because like we're mates and like we are just vibing. It's just a fun skit. But even then, I still make you do a few too many takes.
Well, that's the thing about filming, isn't it? It's sometimes you do have to do it a couple hundred times. I mean, look at Stanley Kubrick. I mean, he might have been a bit over the top.
He went a bit over the top.
Yeah.
He's
127 times over the top.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it's a different experience as well, because in theatre you do it over and over again.
That's true.
It's part of that experience, you know. It's not a perfect environment. You get noises coming in. You have, you think, oh, hang on a minute, can we try this from a different angle? Yeah. It's, repetition is paramount in theatre. It's paramount in acting. It's paramount in filming. And so I don't think that would ever bring down anybody as a director if you have to do more than one take.
Yeah, I know. I just don't want to go down the path of Stanley Kubrick, because I can feel like I can get a bit too in my head about something being perfect, when sometimes the imperfections in film is kind of what make it great. Like classic Doctor Who. Yeah. It's so rough around the edges and shoddy in a quality and effect. But at the end of the day, that's part of the charm of it. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed Doctor Who in the first place, is just the fact that, oh, this looks like they had fun filming this. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like the thing that was so fascinating about it originally. And so I don't really want to, I get way too in my own head if I don't get the perfect shot. I kind of just am hell-bent on doing the take until I get the one that I want. And I just need to kind of stop that, because otherwise it'll drive me crazy. And probably the people who I'm working with as well. Because they're like, Zach, we have to move on. We've spent 2 hours in this one scene. We have to, so yeah. I don't like me as a director personally, but whereas as camera roll might be my thing, maybe editing, because then in those positions of the production, you still have a say in the creative process, whether that be how it looks or how it plays out in a sequence. You have that level of control and say into what the final piece is, but not the overall responsibility or final straw. We're doing this again. That's the director's job, and it's that sort of thing. The perfectionism in me, I don't think I could handle it. Whereas, like I say, camera, I get a say in how parts of it are done. Same with editing. So I don't know.
I've had a slight hand in writing and a slight hand in directing. During my time in sixth form, as well as SYC, Playbox, and all that kind of stuff, I decided to take up a little bit of writing. Because Doctor Who, much like you, I really wanted to be the Doctor as well. Still want to. One day you might see it there.
One day, man.
One day, come on, we can do this! But I would, if I had a free period in sixth form, if I just had 2 hours to myself, I'd take my laptop out and I still have these drafts of a script of, a series I would have in my mind as me as a Doctor. And looking back on them now, I'm so fucking glad I didn't do them. Because I came up with all these different... I mean, I didn't realise how dramatically I was changing the lore, how, impactful and how shit some of these ideas were. I mean, I loved the stories and the plans I came up with, but the dialogue, of course, you can tell it's, it's like it's written by someone who's never written a script before. It's bad. Aside from, the idea, one idea I had, and I like this one, I thought it was pretty good, a Centauran mini civil war during the Russian Civil War.
Well, that's got to be patented. If anyone steals that idea, we'll know it's you. That's his idea. That's patented. You can't steal that now. It's from here. We said it first.
But then as a directing experience, because I couldn't go back to taking part in drama club, of course, because I'm about 16, 17 years old, I decided to ask if I could run it in my last year. And I ran that for a year. And again, I realised I'm not necessarily a mean director, I am just spineless. Especially considering I'm working with... This is when I knew I was a really bad teacher as well. Of course, first day of drama club, and this is when I'm introduced, I'm a sixth former, this is my first time. And of course, you want to start off with a bit of a game and you want to start off with a small activity. And I started off with something quite usual that everyone started off with in our drama classes. Would be a first game of Splat, or maybe even a game of Wink Murder, and then I started off, and then I ended it with a monologue selection. You had a few monologues of comedy, a few bits of tragedy, a few bits of horror, and one bit of romance, and I knew I would only print off one, because who's going to do romance? No. And I had a steady mix of year 7, 8 and 9 on that first day. I came back next week. It was about 12 year 7s and 3 year 8s.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. I did have some helpers though for a while, but then after Christmas it was about 7 year 7 kids. And they were all right, I found it quite impressive, really, that I didn't shout at anybody until about March time, because they were kind of taking advantage of things at that point, and I could only keep my cool for so long. And I scared off one of the kids shouting at them. I felt really bad about it. I went to go talk to Miss Ferguson about it, and her literal response to me was, "I'm just surprised you didn't shout sooner." And
well, there you go. That's kind of a sign there, isn't it?
Yeah. But then by the time I was finishing sixth form, coursework was beating me to high hell. I can't write a piece of coursework to save my life. If I'm writing something in English, I'll get an A. If I do the same thing in drama, I'd get an E. And I did 3 years of university doing this nonsense. I still don't know what the difference was. I still don't, and I never will. No. But actually, coming up to university as well, I realised by then, drama, acting, performing, that's where I want to go. And so when I was looking for university or even drama college, because some people in SYC, they were leaving as well, and they were going to a college, a specific drama college. And I had a moment of realising, do I want to go to that, or would a university be more beneficial? And I kind of moulded over thinking, what would be more ideal? What's the kind of stuff I need to practice on? And what I realised was that I needed to practice more on things like my accent. I need to have a more embracive and a more inclusive society to work in. Because in drama school, you're going to be surrounded by like-minded people. They've all got that same agenda, that same passion, which is good, that same kind of motivation, which is brilliant, but it's all people who are going in with the same end goal. Yeah. And so it becomes
a bit of a competition there.
Not necessarily,
like a rat race,
well, yes, it does, but it's also a very isolating environment, because there's no... You're not meeting someone, say, like at university, who wants to be a paramedic. You haven't got someone who wants to be a technician or a mathematician. No, and so
it becomes like an echo chamber of people who
it's stagnant, it's stiff. There's no room for diversity. Well, there is room for diversity, but it doesn't grow.
Not in aspirations.
No.
That respect.
Noisy horns. And so university was amazing in the sense that I'd be surrounded by people of different religions, different ethnicities, people from different countries, and they would all have their own different identities, their own different motivations, and they would still be pushing those forward. Because first year at university, you're in a new common room, there was nobody on my floor that was doing drama. Everyone else was doing a completely different subject to each other.
Because you get ideas from all sorts of different walks of life.
Yeah, you got different accents, you got different aspirations, and so you're immersing yourself in those different environments, those different conditions, and you can take away bits of those and use them in your performances. And that to me was what made me finally decide I want to go to university, because I realised I don't need someone telling me...
environment to learn things to then put into your work.
Yeah, because you can only learn so much from a PowerPoint or from a book. What I needed was that physical immersion.
You need to just soak up people's energy.
Exactly. Yeah, as cliche as that is, I needed to soak it in. Yeah. The only roadblock to that, though, my parents didn't want me to choose acting. I wanted to go into acting initially because I realised that's the stuff that focuses on accent. It's more film-based as opposed to drama, which is theatre-based. It does more with stage combat, and it's a lot more about the acting specifically. Right. Well, hence the name. But my parents worried that it's such a narrow mindset and it will only open a certain amount of doors. Yeah.
I'm going to have to stop you there briefly. We can pick this back up after the break because we're already at half an hour.
Oh, blimey.
So, yeah, that'll do it for the first half. Enjoy this advert that we worked on. I'm sure you will. We'll see you in just a minute. Bye.
I wish there were a way I could experience the outside world. I wish there were a way for me to step out and feel the wind on my face, the sun in my eyes. I wish.
Well, I'm very pleased to inform you, kind customer, that you can.
Oh my God, how?
Introducing a door!
A door?
A door!
How does the door work?
Well, you silly Willy, you open it!
Wow, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, why didn't you think of that?
Maybe it's because I'm an idiot.
Well, maybe you are, but you do not have to be. You can start using any door today. Wait, how the fuck does this thing work again?
Shit. I'm gonna die in here.
Hello, and welcome back from that commercial break. Did you enjoy it? Bloody hope you did. Anyway, welcome back to the Amazon review of the week.
Yeah.
The acclaimed section on the ZT channel. What have we got today?
Well, Dennis brings us the Veet for Men Hair Removal Gel Cream, 200 millilitres.
Whoa, the hair removal, what? Something to meters?
Veet for
Crazy!
Men. Yeah.
Whoa.
He says, makes my farts sound louder. The hair must have acted as an interlocking silencer. I give this big thumbs up, 5 out of 5.
Thank you so much.
Dennis, we love you.
What an amazing review. So, yeah, where were we?
Talking about my acting disaster.
Yes.
Yes. So,
Of course, my favourite. I mean, what?
So the roadblock that I had in front of me was that my parents didn't want me to go into acting at university because it's such a narrow kind of process. And so they wouldn't let me go to university if I wanted to carry on with that. And so I tried twisting it. I said, well, if you let me do drama for A levels, so what if I did drama? And then they asked, what if you did drama with a joint honours? And so I started off university with joint honours drama and English.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. And if you don't know what joint honours does, it basically, you start off at if you were a single course, you have a certain number of classes. When you have joint honours, you take out half of those classes so that way you can fit them both together. Which meant the classes that I was taking part in drama were good, but all the essential stuff I was missing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough call. And so by the end of my first year at university, I suddenly realised, yeah, no, I don't want to do this.
No.
If I want to stick my guts, I need to choose my drama.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'll really regret it.
Yeah.
And so I dropped English at the end of my first year, and I decided to carry on single honours drama for second and third year. There was a whole fiasco with marks and credit, and you know, at university you have to make up a certain amount of points at the end of each year. You only do that by passing your termly grades, your marks, your assessments. And there was a whole fiasco about that. Too much to get into detail, but basically I finished with single honours drama. That's what my graduation is. That's my degree.
Well, there you go. You got there in the end, and that's what counts. If you persevere, you can do anything. So cheesy. But yeah, I mean, the whole film side of it for me, with like studying it, was a roller coaster for me too. Like, just because the 3-year BTEC thing was only meant to be 2 years, but I had to add an extra year to resit stuff. Long story. Not going to get into the grueling details. But it meant I got more hands-on experience with the equipment at least, so that kind of worked out. And then when I went to uni, obviously, COVID happened, which meant this entirely practical course just suddenly all went online, and all this practical nature of it went down the shitter, and all that we were marked on was how well we could write an essay, as opposed to how well we make films, which is what the course was meant to be about. And so obviously I took a gap year out and switched universities, and I finally finished it in this new place where we are right now.
He abandoned me.
I did. Well, no, you...
Oh no, I graduated before you dropped out.
Yeah, thank you, actually.
I can't play the victim card.
Shut up. Exactly. Exactly. So it's not been an easy road, but like, at the end of the day, like, I realised it a bit too late, but like, I shouldn't have gone to university for film. Like, because a university degree doesn't mean jag shit on your CV when you're applying for a film job. Yeah. It's about like the roles that you've done before in film. Well, I'm sure it might be the same with acting, I'm not sure, but it's like you need, it's kind of who you know, what you know, but also it's kind of like what you know, what you learn is more outside of the classroom anyway. So the whole idea of doing a film course at university is kind of asinine to begin with. But I learned that a bit too late, so I just decided to stay the course and just finish my degree. Because at least I've got a nice shiny degree on my CV now that I can show off. I'm a graduate, I'm a scholar, which is nice, but at what cost? I've wasted 4 years of my life doing that, you know, whereas I could have spent those 4 years in industry sooner, do you know what I mean? So it is an interesting turn of events, but at the end of the day, you don't want to turn back time, do you? You just want to take what you've got and kind of work from that, and that's what I'm doing. But definitely an interesting experience learning film. But the mentors that I did have, especially some of the mentors that I had in my BTEC, were very, very supportive and helpful. Most of them. There's one that wasn't. Joe V. You can look right here. But most of the teachers that I had in BTEC were pretty supportive, and I'm thankful for them. It was learning experience.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
My mentors were, you know, I feel like I was quite lucky with the people that I had. Miss Ferguson, as a starting off point, I could not have asked for someone better. Motivational, committed, passionate. She was very. You know, if I had a few bad days when I was at school, and she would notice quite well. Because she was also my older brother's form tutor, so she got used to seeing me and my brothers around, and she would know when we're having good days, she would know if we were having a bad day, and she would know if there was something on our minds, and she could read me like an open book. And I could not get away from that. Literally, if she saw me about to have a bad day, she would stop it before it even started. I'd be brought into her office, and even if I did something really stupid or really wrong, she never made it feel like it was the worst thing in the world.
Right.
She would make it seem as though I didn't actually know it was a bad thing. And this is where I kind of got one of my practices out of, where not telling you what you've done wrong, but walking you through it to let you know out loud what you did wrong, so that you would recognise. And I thought that was such a helpful and clever way of handling things, and it's something I take on board in my job nowadays. And I really benefited from her as a teacher. I couldn't thank her enough. Playbox at SYC, they were a lovely pair. Toby for Playbox, phenomenally fun guy. He had a fun little traditional way of doing certain things. He had magical hair. He had a good peacock impression. And every Christmas to this day, I'll hold myself up to high heaven for this. I'll never stop. Every Christmas at the dinner table, I'll take up my little cup. I don't care who else joins me. I don't think Lewis ever will again. And I'll just go, to Chrism. That was his tradition every time. Last session before Christmas, we'd all raise our goblets to Chrism.
To Chrism.
That's his patented. You can't type that. That belongs to him.
This is trademark.
Yeah. Oh God, what are their names? Mary and Stuart, who ran SYC. Brilliant as well. They remind me, looking back, like university lecturers. You call them by their. In Playbox you call everybody by their first name as well. But they treated you more maturely because you're a bit older than you would be in Playbox. You're handling more serious content. You're doing more stage combat. You're using filming equipment and props and everything. So it's not like, you know, you're just you, yourself, and all that kind of stuff. They treated you like adults, whether you did something good and when you did something bad. And it was like a double-edged sword, you know, you could be praised to high heaven if you did something really good, or you would be utterly slammed if you did something bad. And I think, for the most part, that paid off. And I would seriously recommend going back to that one if anybody's interested. SYC, lovely. It's brilliant. In terms of university, I think I kind of had the lecturers themselves, they were brilliant. JM as a head lecturer, brilliant. He was a Brooklyn chap, heavy accent, he knew what he was talking about. He and the other dude in the room, Rory, they had very different ways of doing things. Rory was the kind of director where he would want to have a hands-on approach. He'd be in the play, he would take a cameo role, and he would watch it from the view of the performer to see, okay, are you on your sight line? Are you watching out for lights? Are you talking to us, or are you talking to them?
That's pretty cool.
And JM, he was the standard director, you know, he's watching from the audience, he's watching sight lines from all the different seats of the auditorium. He would be kind of telling you to project, he'd be watching your movement, he'd be saying, why are you moving so much? You're just meant to be talking to one person, you don't have to do that so much. And the dynamic between the two of them, having both different sides of the equation, that was really helpful too. And
sick.
because of course I started first year in joint honours, so I didn't get that kind of learning how to write an impressive essay at the beginning, so there was a lot of kind of
catching up
to do. I had to have a few kind of chats with Rory, because he was in charge of the assessments a lot of the time, and he didn't know why I was slacking, but after I had that kind of chat with him, and he would watch me kind of go through all this kind of stuff, and I think out of everyone in the class, I was the bane of his existence when it came to handing in assessments on time. Because I'd be torn to shreds. In terms of my physical performance, I'd be rocketing that. In terms of the written one, I feel like I could hear them grinding their teeth. But in a nice way. I mean, they were lovely chaps. And Sarah as well, the third. I didn't have as much to do with Sarah, because a lot of the stuff that she had done, it was in classes I wasn't involved in. And she had her own kind of approach to things. She did it well, it just wasn't working for me. But no, she was a lovely lady, very helpful, especially in our third year when it came to writing down things. She was helping me the most with my dissertation. And again, because it's writing, I struggled a lot with it, trying to find the right question to write off of, trying to find the right resources and phrasing that down. And so she was very helpful for that, but I just struggled with writing, and so I think it frustrated her a little bit. But ultimately, I walked away from my class thinking my lecturers, they helped me. I didn't feel like they abandoned me. I didn't feel like they shot me in the foot for anything stupid. If I did something dumb, I'd notice. Like, in our first year, JM would create the end of year performance based off of who he perceived us as. And he wanted to come up with a fun costume for somebody, and I suggested something which, in hindsight, I still stand by. I thought it was a really fun one. He said he didn't want this character to be a standard stereotype of who he was. And so I threw out, well, how about, he's like mismatched, he's got a sandal on one foot, he's barefoot on another, he's got a sleeve ripped off, he's got a bandana, he's got an eye patch, completely unexpected. And I still see the kind of the side glance, just, right? Anyone else? Like, right, okay, so we just heard that. Come on, guys, there can't be any worse answer than this. This has got to be inspirational to someone. We can't leave the worst answer being the last answer. Come on. So that was.
And that was the last. And that was what they picked.
No,
damn it.
They went with a stereotype because that was somehow better than my answer.
Oh, that's annoying. Oh well.
Yeah, but in terms of a class as well, university, I seriously think that was my best group. Because it was full. I mean, we obviously had a few slackers as well. We had some people who didn't even turn up to rehearsals half the time. We had some people who got a bit emotional when it wasn't the part or the role they wanted. The lecturers, unfortunately, they fell victim to the favouritism argument, because there were a few people who got major roles where they probably could have done with having something a little less, or someone getting a bit more. That's kind of one of those dynamics and staples in education to do with drama that I think should change. It's where, directors and teachers, they'll always fall onto who they prefer and who they think is the coolest or the most outspoken, and so they'll reward them with the better roles. When I feel like, because it's educational, everyone deserves to have that crack at being the top, and everyone should have that experience of being ensemble, should have that experience of being supporting or side character or villain or this or that. You need to have experience on all sides, and I had that experience. I had a few ensemble roles, I had a few semi-decent roles, I had a few main roles, I had a few kind of stand-in, I had a spread of it all throughout my education.
That's good.
And I think that made me a more well-rounded person to work with after education, because since then I've done 3 decent roles in, well, I say 3 decent roles. I've done Lady Windermere's Fan, where I was on for literally 2 minutes in total. I've had a role in A Midsummer Night's Dream, where I wasn't the main character, but I made that character my own. I made it memorable, and I made it something worth playing. And then most recently, I've done something where I'm second to the leading man. And, it's kind of like I've progressed in terms of how I've worked. And it also shows a level of maturity if you can handle modestly being the leading character, and if you can handle it maturely being a supporting role. Because if you can't handle being anything other than the lead, then you're going to struggle. And I think education deserves to give you that experience of all sides. Because it boosts up your motivation, your self-respect. If you're sorry, I'm rambling.
No, that's fine.
You know, it encourages you to carry on if you get to have a leading role, but it teaches you modesty and humility if you're given a supporting role as well. And that's my 2 pence on how I got to my present day.
Nice. No, well, I mean, it goes to more than just education though. Like mentors in like BTEC, I want to give a shout out to. So like John Taylor, Adam B. And then David Morgan as well. They're like the main ones that kind of pushed me to just fuck it, just make stuff. But outside of like the classroom, like there's obviously going to be inspirations for things that would be like I want to be like this person, I want to be like that person. Obviously Edgar Wright is in the conversation for me. Stanley Kubrick at one stage was. Obviously Spielberg is obviously always in the conversation for everyone who wants to go into film. But also Tarantino as well is an amazing one, and one of my personal favourite, Ridley Scott. An absolutely masterclass fucking director. Yeah, his films are amazing, and I kind of take it as like that's like the holy grail of like what it means to like make a good film. And I know most of those inspirations are directors, but that's because for the longest time I was pursuing the directing role rather than like other like roles in film that I could have like pursued.
Yeah. I
kind of like looked to them to be like, oh, that's like the pinnacle. That's like my end goal. But obviously in real life, that like those sort of like expectations are like a pipe dream, for lack of a better word, usually. Yeah. But yeah, it's you kind of have to still like admire like the inspirations that you did have and kind of like pay respect to like what did kind of like get you into like it, and obviously watching like their films is what kind of started that, like Alien by Ridley Scott, and obviously the Cornetto trilogy by Edgar Wright, and everything Edgar Wright's made really. Just you can name any film he's done and I've watched it and enjoyed it. But also Ari Aster, and also fucking the guy who made Hereditary, I don't know his name.
Damn, I know who you're talking. He's done Midsummer and Nope as well, hasn't he?
No, Nope was by Jordan Peele.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but Jordan Peele's another great director actually. Get Out and Us are also amazing films. But yeah, like you've got to hold those films and those like filmmakers and directors near to your heart, because they're the ones that kind of show you what is possible, and also what hasn't been made yet. Because really what the film industry is fucking saturated with so much middle of the road shit, so many safe films that are safely in a niche or in a genre, and what art should be in general is like blurring the lines between what genre something is, or even what form of media something is. Like a film that I think I mentioned to you in a previous podcast was like Skinamarink, where it is literally so film art house and so left ball and weird that it's not even really a film, but it is.
Yeah. Same
with like The Lighthouse, or maybe less so 1917, though it is a beautiful film. It's so well made. But it's those sort of films that kind of will push the boundary of like what is possible in film, and that's the sort of stuff that I want to strive to do. No one's going to want to make. Well, I mean, everyone says they want to make the next Jurassic Park or the next Alien. But those have been done before. Those films aren't going anywhere. If you want those films, they exist. They're not going anywhere. You can watch them whenever you like. But really what should be done in film in general, or in any art form, whether that be music or illustration or etc., it's kind of doing what has not been done before, because that's the stuff that gets remembered, really, and that's the stuff that you want to strive to do. But also you've got to follow what you want to do. You shouldn't do something because someone tells you want to do it. The whole reason why I pursued film is because it's something that no one else was doing that I knew of. It was something that, like, I didn't know what the word filmmaking meant. I was just like, I watched films a lot when I was younger, and Doctor Who and all this other television and everything, and I'm like, I want to make what they're making, not realising it had a name, not realising that it was something that a lot of people did. Yeah. There was no outside influence to it. It was just something that just was so fascinated by, and so
Yeah.
I took it by the horns, and I kind of just chased it, really. Just all the way to here we are now, pretty much. But yeah.
My kind of inspirations when I was younger, Doctor Who, David Tennant, first and foremost. But then also, if you're a dinosaur kid when you were growing up, you might have seen some shows with Nigel Marven. He did a lot of stuff with Walking with Dinosaurs. He did a few kind of immersive experiences. It's all CGI, and he's talking about these dinosaurs like David Attenborough in Blue Planet, all that kind of stuff. And it was just the way that they presented themselves on, because Nigel is trying to be educational as well as engaging with herbivores and carnivores. But David, even after Doctor Who, watching him in stuff like Jessica Jones, watching him in Good Omens, watching him in
Staged.
Yeah, staged. Hamlet. Yeah. Oh my god. I mean,
Really
the dude is versatile. If I ever had to think of a guy who's done all sorts, I look at David. Daniel Day-Lewis as well, with method acting, his stuff in Lincoln as well. He's a pretty good actor. Yeah. And yeah, Heath Ledger, Joker as well, another brain boxer. Brain boxer?
What word are you looking for?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they're classics, but at the same time, they're memorable for a reason.
Really. Yeah. Colin Firth is like an actor that I really appreciate. Also Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. Simon Pegg as well. I like Simon Pegg as a performer as well.
He's an inspiration for me on both sides of it. Like with the whole writing side of it, really, because like the entire reason why I wanted to make films is because like I love telling stories, always have, and it felt to me that film was like the best way to make a story come to life is to show it through people's eyes and ears, rather than you can sketch something, and what's so great about that is it's abstract and you can take your own meaning from it, whereas with film you're telling them your story. It is portrayed through your eyes, through your vision, and that's what drove me to film. It's the best, most coherent way to tell a story in my eyes, and that's kind of what pushed me to do that, really. But I don't know. Story writing, that's kind of the crux of it. That's the entire central point of my motivation.
For me, it was just playing pretend with the song Screwdriver in my blue jacket at primary school, whether it be playing with my brothers with our plastic lightsabers outside on the street. I used to have a hat that looked like Nigel Marven. My granddad gave it to me. I would pack a bag with binoculars, a torch, a dinosaur book, and I'd pretend to go scouring around my neighbourhood trying to find these little dirt patches. I'd wipe them away, pick out a stone, and I'd think it was a fossil. Those were pretty fun days as well. Primeval, one of my friends around the street, he used to have one of the Anomaly Detectors.
Oh wow, really? Didn't know those were a thing, actually.
So, it was very versatile. Action figures as well. What else did we used to play with? Hide and seek, manhunt, and all that kind of stuff. But we characterise them as well. You'd imagine that dinosaurs come to find you, or somebody in a horror film coming after you as well. So I was ruled a lot by my imagination.
Yeah. Me too. Which is where like the story writing or storytelling came from for me. It was just having a very daydreamy sort of brain as a young age. I would never really be mentally there in a classroom. I'd be too busy thinking of the next little Doctor Who adventure that I'd want to write down, or the next Primeval story, or the next Walking Dead episode, or my own original stuff as well. Like, I was thinking of original stories at a very young age, even horror. Like I got into horror at a very troubling young age, too young to be getting into horror really. And yet I look back on those shitty little like sketchbooks that you'd have as a kid, and I'd have my terrible handwriting in crayon, and they would be my interpretation of horror at the time, like a scary story. But I guess some things never change.
If you wanted interpretation of horror, you just have to look at my old sketchbooks and understand I had no sense of colour. Literally, in primary school, this has nothing to do with my drama stuff, we used to have these yearly reports, and we were allowed to draw our portraits on the front of them.
Oh, right.
And I coloured myself in brown. Literally, it's just an entire brown face.
You just
with
blackfaced yourself.
Yeah.
You blackfaced yourselves.
Why the teachers didn't think, Adam, you
That's
shouldn't be using that colour.
Yeah.
Why they didn't stop me, I don't know.
I think they were just too busy fucking laughing behind you as you were doing it. Like,
what made it weirder,
You'll laugh at this in 20 years.
What made it weirder though, in my second year, I had a pink face and brown ears. Well, it's like I just took them off the one drawer and swapped them.
Well, at least that way around, it's just that you have hair covering your ears, and it's just shadows.
I turned myself into a Wookiee.
Anyway, yeah. That's a good place to end.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you could sum up why? I mean, we've already done that, but like sum up why you love acting. Go in like a few sentences.
In a nutshell, I love to act because it's my favourite way of letting my emotions out. It's my favourite way of being anything that I want to be within the reason of the script.
Yeah.
You can do it over and over again. You'll have hundreds of chances, hundreds of roles at your disposal. Yeah. You never just have to stay stuck as being one single thing.
No, that's true. For me with film, well, it's like what you said with it's the best way to express emotions, because like with filmmaking, like you kind of like live vicariously through a character that you write, whether that be the protagonist or like a secondary character, like a supporting role that's also got a primary focus. You kind of write a character not with the same characteristics of yourself, but like in a few different like interpretations of how you view yourself, and you kind of write their story, and maybe it's a story that you would prefer to live in yourself, or whether it's one that you'd be fascinated to see how a character you'd write would react to a scenario of like an apocalypse or anything. Yeah. It's endless when it comes to story writing, but with film as well, it is just a way to kind of like vent emotions onto a page and then put them onto screen. Like the film Alone really is a great example of being me just pouring out my emotions into a script and then putting that into film. That's a prime example of that exactly happening. But it's a great
award.
It did. It got nominated at a film festival, which is lovely. So I guess that sort of emotion does pay off, doesn't it? If you do vent it into an art form. If there's any morals of the story of this podcast, there you go. You're welcome. But yeah, if you have any passions yourself, whether that be in art or whether it be in an actual industry that actually benefits the human race, like being a doctor or like an archaeologist or a scientist, keep doing what you're doing. You're probably doing better than us. You know, it's a very twisted way to end it.
Damn.
But yeah,
he's not wrong, but damn.
I know. There you go.
Well,
I guess we'll wrap it here.
We'll wrap.
Yeah.
All right then. Where's the present?
Come on. We nearly went the whole hour without a single dad joke, and you had to just slip one in at the end.
I had to.
You did, unfortunately. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you later.
Goodbye. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen. Adios.
Adios, mi amigo.
What's French for goodbye?
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
That took you way too long.
That's it.